back. Sorry. You are joining us in our conversation technically. We are joined by Sherlet Lopez as we learn more about the online services that she offers, professional development courses for individuals, for companies. And Sherlet, let's just jump right into it. I think what's fascinating is that you said you have been seeing a huge uptick in persons accessing training. Tell us about it.
Awesome. Good morning, Marlene. Good morning. I am so sorry, I forget the name of your other
Gavin
host.
is with me this morning. Yeah.
The name is?
Gavin.
Gavin.
Yeah.
You have a wide array of hosts, and so I can't keep up. I'm so sorry, Gavin. And good morning, Belize. It's always a pleasure to join you and to tell Belize of the great value we offer. We are the Belize Institute for Service Excellence, Leadership and Research. And at least 2 years ago when I was on your show, Marlene, you said that's a long name. And I said, we'll grow into it. And we certainly have grown thanks to you, the Belizean public, who saw the value in the services we offer in terms of our training. Mm-hmm. A little over a year ago, we've had to shift a lot of those training online, and we've had to adopt. And as a result, now we have BISELAR.com. So Belize Institute is the company, and BISELAR.com is the online learning platform and training hub, which was launched a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And so we are open. We develop many soft skills and even some technical courses. Yeah. And we say to participants, just call and ask. Just call and ask. And if there's a course you don't see, we're going to develop it for you. We're definitely going to source the talent that will be able to provide that course, and we'll offer it for you. Because capacity building is key. And training is not going anywhere anytime soon.
That's right. And we're all getting comfortable with online platforms. Yep. So if we go back, was it 2 years already when you started the online platform for training? And you said you wanted to do a Belizean product. You wanted Belizean trainers, and you wanted to structure it based on what you knew were the needs here. And then enter the pandemic, and you were just ready to be able to offer these services.
Most definitely, we have had to adapt. When it comes to change, you can decide that you're going to make the necessary changes or you're going to die. And for us, it was so important. But we didn't just want an online platform. We wanted to provide Belizeans with an experience. For us, it's about the experience, the ability to come on our Zoom, listen, engage, and then leave and go to our online platform and there find additional resources, videos, training materials, and being also able to do some activities that will demonstrate to us that learning has taken place. And so we challenge participants. Don't just come and sit in the Zoom and, you're probably there, you're probably not there. We have no good way of telling really. But when you go on the platform, and for those, I tell them it's like a buffet. Take what you want. There's a lot of resources available to you. Take what you want. It's up to you how much you want or how hungry you are for learning. But it's available to you. And participants have really been enjoying our platform and what we have to offer, especially when you add to it our quality customer service. I've always been a stickler for customer service, and I bring that into my organization as well when it comes to customer service, responsiveness, the quality. Those are things that we do not overlook ever.
And what is what sort of feedback have you received from people who have participated, over this period of growth that you've gone through?
Well, I measure success by return users, and our return rates are tremendous. In fact, let me tell you what our experience has been. Maybe one person from a school or an organization signs up for one of our courses, and before we know it, they bring the entire school. The admin is calling and say, hey, we want that. She can't stop talking about it, and so we want it. And so we've been able to engage entire organizations to the point where most of our demand lately is coming from organizations that are saying, hey, train our entire staff. And for me, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's also great for the company to invest in building up the staff to where they want them to be. And I think that's perhaps why you get the return usage that you do. When people see that a trained personnel can perform better, better than even maybe the person had known for themselves, it's a great reward for everyone. But
Yes.
I wanted to change to one of the topics that I know you've been presenting on recently, and it's about adapting in changing times. I think you said it earlier. You either adapt or basically, you're making yourself become obsolete. And it's so tough right now in this particular time for people who are dealing with changes all around to really embrace this concept of change within the workplace. Let's talk about it.
That is so true. One of the things that we realized after the pandemic, on the onset, the first couple of months, there were many people who expressed a sense of feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know where to go. They felt like they were being unproductive. They weren't sure what the next step should be.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that's okay in the first month or two, or maybe even 3. But by now, it should have become clear to you what needs to be done.
Yes.
If it is that you are able to adopt. I listened to a webinar the other day, and there was one huge takeaway for me. And the guy said that most people are fully equipped to operate in a world that no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that blew my mind away, because it is so true. We have skill sets, but they're 20th century skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
And so realizing that we must adapt. And so we put forth this concept of adaptive capacity. For people in climate change, etc., they may be familiar with the term adaptive capacity, because it was mostly used in terms of the environment and how countries adapt to the changes there. But when we look at adaptive capacity in terms of organizations, individuals, we really just look at how well do you respond to change? How well do you respond to change? And we say really it's an attitude more than an action. Mm-hmm. It's an attitude more than an action. And so we encourage people to really start looking at how is it that I respond to change. And going online, because we've put some together, but going online, you can find so many tests that you can do to determine your responsiveness to change. Just go to Google and type in, how do I respond to change quiz. It's amazing what you can learn about yourself if you're able. So we pull together, and for our courses, we offer this, a little self-assessment test. How well do you respond to change? And based on that, you're able to see areas that you don't respond so well to change. It's a graded score. Yeah. And then what do you do then? Now that you realize you don't respond well to change.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, and I'm so glad you said that, even with assessments, which it's always wonderful to kind of get a clear understanding of where you are, because sometimes you have the feeling, but you don't know how to articulate it. When someone recognizes that maybe I'm one of those people who perhaps is not as flexible as I thought I am, and they're challenged by change, it doesn't mean that that's a fixed position.
It's not.
How do you get them to move beyond that?
Okay, so the first thing is identifying.
Yeah.
Identifying and recognizing that indeed, because sometimes we don't know ourselves. We would say, oh, no, I have no problem with change. But that's not what your test is showing. Mm-hmm. the way your mindset is different. And so there are several things that we look at and we introduce to our participants. The first one is the concept of self-efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an individual beliefs in his or herself.
Mm-hmm.
And many times the reality that the situation you're in, you didn't put yourself there. And many people are stuck at that. It's not my fault. I didn't cause this. It's she, it's he, and they're stuck there at the blame game.
Yeah.
Self-efficacy requires that you look at the situation and say, okay, I didn't put myself here. The pandemic put me here jobless. My spouse walked out and left me with the kids and no home. I didn't put myself here, but this is my current reality.
Yes.
And where do I go from here? What do I do now? Because while I didn't put myself here, what happens going forward is up to me. Is up to me. Yeah. And so we try to get them away from that mindset, that blame. I didn't get the promotion because my boss not like me. No. Okay, yes. Take a moment. We understand. But what are you going to do about the situation that you find yourself in now? Mm-hmm. And many people are still stuck there, right? So self-efficacy. Mm-hmm. The next one we look at is the concept of resilience. Mm-hmm. Now, when people look at resilience, they tend to look at it in a long term. I'm resilient because I hung on. But resilience has more to do with how do you absorb that initial shock, mm-hmm. that initial change. Because some people will say they're resilient, but all they've been doing for the last 2 years of the pandemic is duck and cover, hide and run. They've not been making much decision. They've just been lying low and waiting for it to pass. Yeah. The goal is to do more than just survive. You want to be thriving, even in the face of change and difficulties. You want to be thriving. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've been doing. We can't just survive. We have to thrive. Yeah. So, as I said earlier, it goes back to more an attitude than an action. Yeah. And then after resilience, we look at response. And this is over a period of time. And the question you must be asking yourself is, what changes have I made? What changes have I made? And we go back to what I said, that people are fully equipped for a world that does not exist. Are you making those changes? I'll give you a simple example. Working with some organizations, and they're like, my people are not changing, they're not innovative, they're not, and I would say, can I look at your policies, your procedures? Mm-hmm. Okay. When was the last time you sat down with your team and you revised these policies and procedures? Maybe 1920. Mm-hmm. Okay. That tells me a lot. Yeah. Because we're still using archaic policies, procedures to administrate in today's reality when those have to change. So as organization, the fact that you're saying to your people, you people need to be innovative, you need to be creative, but we're still commanding and control and holding on and micromanaging them. We're saying, come on, you can do it. Yeah. So, yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because this brings to my mind an issue which I think perhaps a lot of organizations might face in a similar vein, that there might be sort of a clash when it comes to age groups and generations. And, they have established practices, for 30, 40, 50 years. And then you have, people who, now adults are being born in the 2000s now. So, we have people who've never lived without internet.
That's so true.
And so their approach to working and work at the workplace or whatever they may go through is completely different, and it may clash. So how is navigating that?
Again, adaptive capacity, and you're right. And we encourage organizations to look at that generation divide. Clearly, it's a part of our effective workplace communications course. Yeah. Studies are showing that by 2040, the millennials would have taken over 80% of the workforce.
That's right.
And that is huge for how they operate and how they think you cannot expect that people will come in and fit the mold. In fact, where organizations are concerned, I encourage them to look at what we call 21st century leadership. And we have an entire course in that, where we compare those skill sets that are needed for the 21st century versus those in the 20th century.
Yeah.
In the 20th century, leadership was about command and control. And the leader was the superhero who had and knew everything.
Yeah.
And you don't challenge the
Yeah.
leader.
Or the dictator. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't ask
It was very
questions.
authoritative style.
Yes, you do what you're told and
Yeah.
you don't grow. You don't question how it's done and why it's, no, do it that way. If they say the wall is blue and you look at it, it doesn't look so blue, it looks green to me. I said it's blue. And you smile and say thank you. Now, our new generation, our millennials, our people, not even just our millennials, our more empowered workforce, you're asking questions. And some organizations are not ready for this. They're not ready for this.
Well,
so how do you adjust and adapt?
Well, I think it's really interesting when you put it into perspective. And I'm glad, Gavin, I think that when we look at it, the difference with generations right now, we can look at it in our country, on the macro level. There are different levels, different generations in leadership. And so it's kind of like, they call it mixed modality in school, right? You got to do some face-to-face, some online. It feels like that's where we're in that transition period. There's the pre-internet. There are those who grew with the internet, and there are those who never knew life without internet and technology. And they're all adults in one workplace now, with different persons being leaders or supervisors. So how do you, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, because what we are used to do in the 20th century as leaders is put everybody in a box. And if we can put a uniform on them, well, even better. But realizing that your work becomes more challenging because you want to identify different communication styles, different personality styles. You want to get to know your people. And one of the first things you must do, for us when we communicate, we're sending out emails and we're following up by WhatsApp. And lately, I've even been saying to the team, let's start doing some short video clips and voice clips. Because the generation below 18, 19 going into the workforce now, they're not reading. Like, they're not reading a long text or even a WhatsApp.
Writing a long text. You send a voice note.
They're listening to a voice note. So be aware of this and don't say, because I grew up in an era where everything was formal. If it was written in a nice long letter, it was not acceptable as formal. So you could stay formal and not adopt, or you could realize that for these younger generation, formality is not the priority and you must adapt. Yeah. So send them some voice notes. I even say this to teachers when dealing with their students. Stop sending these long messages and long notes home. I don't read them. Send me a voice message. Send me a short video clip. These are things that we must adopt. But the only way we can adopt is if we step back and look at what is the reality. And now that I know what the reality is, what does this reality demand of me? What does it demand of me? And what are those changes that I need to make?
Yeah.
It is what it is. And unless you're able to adapt, you will not survive.
Yeah.
I think the challenge for many of us, like Alexander Graham Bell said, that sometimes we stare so long at the closed door that we fail to see the open door, the opportunities before us. Yeah. And I like to do a little exercise with my participants called, what am I longing for? I told them, Jakir have a song, what am I longing for? What are those things you're longing for that you miss, coming through your work during the pandemic? Are you stuck on those things still? Because you want to be careful. It's okay to reminisce and to look back, but understanding that, no, we're not going back there. We're not going back there. I keep telling people, don't tell me about returning to the new, to the old. I don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there. We've moved from that.
Well,
And
you know,
going
we
back
termed
there,
it
we
right
can
in the
call it-
beginning, you know. We didn't say the temporary normal. We said the new normal.
It's new.
So
It's
the old
new.
normal may be gone.
Yeah, and then for organizations, what I've seen is that they put in place these temporary measures, and
Yeah.
then they're not adopting it. They're just saying, okay, this is what we're doing temporarily until, you know what? It's been a year. Temporary is not a year. Temporary is 3 months, 6 months. It's been a year. Adopt the thing. Look at
Yeah.
it, see what works, what didn't work. Just adopt it and
Yeah.
say, okay, this going forward, this is what we're thinking. So stop being in this state of, you know, upheaval because everything is temporary.
Yeah.
It's a year. It's a year. Adopt some of those changes that you've had to deal with and just make it work for you.
All right. Well, that is, I know, for a lot of people who are listening right now, some harsh truth, but some necessary truth as well. So you offer this as a part, as one of your training opportunities that you have on BISELAR. And how do people find out when the next course starts? Is it time sensitive, or can you go back and start at any point?
This course particularly, we're putting out in the month of October, and we're offering it primarily initially just to organizations.
Okay.
To organizations. We will also be having it self-paced to individuals. And that's the next thing with our platform. We're really moving towards putting out more courses that are fully self-paced, where you log on anytime. The content would be, you know, just doing my thing and recording it, putting it up there, giving you the materials. You could wake up at midnight and can't sleep, and you could log on and do your courses.
Nice.
We're seeing a demand for that, where maybe 4 or 5 people are interested, and it doesn't merit us doing a course like this on Zoom. But for those individuals, it's available. So they're able to do that. And that's what we're moving towards. And looking at organizations as well, accessing some of these courses as a self-paced for their staff is something we want to be able to do as well.
Nice.
For September, these are some of the courses that we have. They're not fully booked, but we have one that actually is starting this evening, the Effective Workplace Communication.
Nice.
So you still have time to sign up. Our contact is info@bzlearn.com. My number is 670-9564. And this course covers a lot of what we need for today.
Yeah.
Many people have been saying, you know, communication is breaking down. And I said, no, it's just being
changing.
amplified now. Because it was really not effective to start off with. Now you realize it because it's changed in terms of the way you have to communicate. People being remotely working, etc. So let's take a look. Many times as organizations, one of the things too, to wrap up, is that we say we're looking at things, but we don't look at it differently. We bring the same ideas to the table. We want to be able to change our mindset. For this, we introduce a concept called the 6 thinking hats, and we find it very effective, where people are forced to think in a different way. If you're somebody who is always negative, always rejecting an idea, okay, I'm not giving you the black hat. I want you to put on a green hat. And I'm telling you to look at the possibilities of this situation that I placed before you. And I'm forcing you to look at the possibilities. And it's so interesting what happens when we introduce the 6 thinking hat. Because if we're not careful, we have a fixed mindset. And anything you throw at us, this is what you're going to throw back. And I think you can identify it in certain personalities where people are just argumentative all the time, all the time. Okay, put on a different hat.
Yeah.
Look at it differently and see. And so these are some of the things that we cover in our communication classes as well.
All right. Well, definitely lots of opportunity for personal growth and professional growth. Thank you so much for telling us what you've been up to. And we do hope that people take advantage of the training that you do offer. They're very affordable as well. And all they have to do is log on and get in touch and find out how they can sign up for what they need at this moment. Thank you once again.
Definitely. Thank you too. And like I said, get those skill sets that are for the 21st century workplace. Don't get left behind. It's a pleasure, Belize. Have a great day, everyone.
All
Happy.
right, you too. And there you have it. That's Sherlet Lopez from BISELAR. It is an online platform where you can access courses that will help you personally and professionally. So do check it out. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.